Following the news closely, sitting US President Donald J. Trump successfully made his way to the NATO summit. Now, this time, it's a different story for the US. Not only President Trump is very concerned about the international wars, and also he expects that more NATO members could be more active when we think about this intricacy of the geopolitics. But on the other hand, we need to understand while the president visits the NATO summit, the war between US and Iran continues. And based on the latest report, the President Trump said that it could possible, or it is even possible, for both sides will continue the discussion eventually to reach a compromise. How do we understand that? And also based on the political experts' belief, the last Iran nuclear deal still threatens the next one. How do we understand that? And what about the reason? What about the negotiation from both sides? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to invite our distinguished speaker, who's the Dr. Vali Kalaji. Dr. Kalaji is an expert in regional studies, Central Asia, and Caucasian studies based in Tehran, Iran. He has published numerous articles on Eurasia issues with the Jamestown Foundation's Eurasia Daily Monitor, the American Foreign Policy Council's Central Asia Caucus Institute, and the Valdai Club. Well, Dr. Kalagai, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for this great opportunity, and I hope that we have a productive meeting today.
Absolutely, Dr. Kalaji. It's such an honor to have you on our program. As I mentioned before, initially when I discovered you, because of this amazing article that you wrote entitled, "Why the Last Iran Nuclear Deal Still Threatens the Next One." Memories of the JCPOA have complicated negotiations over sanctions, guarantees, and frozen assets. Dr. Kalaji, let's get to the question right away. As you mentioned before, and also I mentioned in the intro, when we talk about the ongoing war between US and Iran at this moment, one of the key players that played an important role is the sitting Vice President J.D. Vance. So before we talk about the matters in details, Professor, from your perspective, how would you evaluate the performance of J.D. Vance at this moment? And why do you think that having the Vice President on the ground through all the negotiations, things are not looking too bright at this moment? What are the complications? Your thoughts?
Okay. Thanks for your good question. When we talk about current negotiations between Iran and the United States, we should pay attention to this important point that we talk about a long history of deep distrust between two countries after the Islamic Revolution, 1979. And also, in addition to deep distrust, I think that the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, GCOP, in 2015 had a negative impact on current negotiation between two countries. It seems that both of countries don't like to repeat the legacies and memories of GCOP. In particular, Iran is worried that once again the United States withdraw from the agreement, as you know, and your audience know very well. Donald Trump withdrawal from the GCPOA unilaterally in May 2018. And therefore, Iran is worried for the repetition of this process again after the New Deal with the United States. In addition, Iran worried about the process of fulfillment of commitments by the United States, especially for lifting the sanction. In GCPOA, Iran transferred 11,000 kilogram of enriched uranium to Russia, and also Iran suspend all of nuclear activities and enrichment inside of Iran. But on the other hand, the United States didn't fulfill its obligation and commitments for lifting and canceling sanctions against Iran. As you know, after withdrawing from the GCPOA on May 18, 2018, Iran had faced with a maximum pressure and comprehensive sanctions, and this process and trend has continued up to present time. Therefore, this atmosphere, these legacies and memories have had a negative impact on this current negotiation between Iran and the United States, and can lead to complicated negotiation between two countries.
Professor Kalaji, you mentioned, again, going back in 2018, that Donald Trump pulled out this JCPOA. And of course, that not only during the campaign trail, and even today we listen to President Trump's rhetoric, that he continued to continue to phrase this JCPOA as one of the dumbest deals between the two countries. And that's why he pulled out at the first place. But right now, I want to go back to the article that you mentioned, that the next nuclear deal can pose even a major greater threat to the next one. So my question to you is, it looks like Iran is asking for objective guarantee this time, including the UN Security Council resolution. So why does the article argue that Tehran still doesn't trust that what we called a unconventional guarantee that Iran is holding today? So what is the ultimate goal that Iran or Tehran is looking for? And why do you think that today Iran is still not getting what the country desires or what the government desires at the first place? Your thoughts?
As I mentioned before, it's had a many negative impact on these current negotiations. One of the main demands of Iran is a guarantee, is a kind of guarantee for keeping the agreement. That will prevent withdrawing by the United States. The last point of the MOU between Iran and the United States mentioned that the final agreement between Iran and the United States should approve in the UN Security Council. But in addition, Iran officials permanently said that we need to create powers such as Russia and China, as a two alliance of the Iran partners and alliance of Islamic Republic of Iran should guarantee this agreement. But it seems that Iran cannot trust to all of these guarantees because GCPOA approved in UN Security Council in 2015. However, President Donald Trump decided to withdraw from the agreement unilaterally on May 2018. And therefore, Iran thinks that the history can repeat again. And China and Russia should not prevent, in practice, should not prevent this process. Also, even the U.S. Congress approved the agreement, but in practice, Iran thinks that there will not be a guarantee because the political combination of the Congress can be changed in the future, and once again, the United States withdraw from the agreement. Therefore, after the recent war, some of Iranian officials talk about an objective guarantee. The objective guarantee will be closing off Strait of Hormuz as a leverage, as a new card by Iran to guarantee this agreement. And as you know very well, before the U.S. and Iran and U.S. negotiation in Switzerland, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz once again. That was a signal, as an important signal to the United States that I can use this leverage, this card, for guarantee to guarantee any negotiation in the process of negotiation and also after the negotiation and agreement.
Well, Professor, let's keep our conversation going. Again, I want to move on to the next topic. In the article, this is something that you wrote, and I quote, "The unresolved issue of Iran's frozen assets, it's another major legacy of the JCPOA. Estimated at between 100 billion and 120 billion. These funds stem largely from Iran's exports of oil, natural gas, condensate, and petrochemicals," end quote. So, Dr. Kalaji, let's talk about the frozen assets, because we know that today when we look at one of the critical fears of Washington is by looking at those assets. So, Doctor, from your perspective, could you please elaborate a little bit more about the Iran's frozen assets, and why do you think this is still a major concern or a major fear for Washington today? What do you say to that?
Yes, undoubtedly, the release of Iranian frozen assets is one of the important obstacles in the current negotiation between Iran and the United States. We have two different perspectives in this regard. The United States believe that because according to distrust between Iran and United States, President Trump believed that United States should control should control the process of release of Iranian frozen assets. As you know, President Trump permanently critics Barack Obama and Joe Biden and John Kerry in GCOP that the U.S. former president paid cash to Iran after Iran, and in the U.S. perspectives, this money is a $1 billion spent on expanding of Iranian nuclear capabilities and missiles capabilities, and also Iranian proxy groups in the Middle East. And therefore, Donald Trump don't like and don't want to repeat this experience. On the other hand, Iran want to release the frozen assets, because Iran needs to this money for reconstruction after the war and improving economic situation, and in addition, Iran disagree with control of the U.S. on the process of release. For example, in a bank in Qatar, in Doha. In Doha is under supervision of the United States. Iran believes that it is the contract is as a government, as a state, independent state. Iran has a right to control on its assets and should control this money. Therefore, we have two different perspectives. As you know, in the last meetings between two countries in the Switzerland, and also in Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf and Abbas Araghchi visit to Qatar and Doha, talked about this process, and it seems that in a realistic assessment, it seems that we will have a process of step by step. Step by step. Yes, for example, is the $6 billion or $12 billion, and flexibility. I think that accounts of the flexibility by Iran will be depend on the U.S. flexibility about sanction, the lifting of sanction. The sanctions and solving this problem, I think, need to flexibility by two sides.
Dr. Kalaji, I have two more questions before letting you go. Now, let's talk about the word flexibility. In the article, again, you mentioned during the Biden administration that any money contributed or any money to Iran only to purchase humanitarian goods such as food, medicine, and medical equipment. So that was the promise, or that seems like a guarantee under the Biden administration. But right now, in 2026, we're looking at a total different political transformation in America. So my next question to you is, how do you think that today, when we look at the Trump administration should come up with the tangible or practical strategies to solve the war or to end the war as soon as possible? Because you mentioned that right now, the Strait of Hormuz is still in a limbo position. the global economy is depending on the Strait of Hormuz. So how do you think that Trump administration should be flexible with the current situation in order to reduce the tension of the global economic uncertainty? Your thoughts?
Yes. Yes. You mentioned about the experience of a release of the frozen assets during the President Joe Biden. Yes, it's true. In the 2000, during the presidency of the Joe Biden, in exchange of prisoners between Iran and the United States, the United States agreed to release $6 billion of Iranian frozen assets in South Korea. These frozen assets transferred, in first step, transferred to the Switzerland, and in next step, transferred to the Doha in Qatar. And as you mentioned, for these frozen assets, under U.S. supervision, proposed to spend on humanitarian, food, medicine, and other things. But in practice, this process didn't work. Didn't work, and after Donald Trump came to power again, this process stopped completely. Therefore, this experience is in the mind of Iranian officials, and they don't forget this experience, and they should not, and they don't want to repeat this experience again in current situation. It is, I believe that two issues can help to guarantee of any negotiation between Iran and United States. Mutual fears and threats or mutual benefits. I think there is not another choice and options between two countries. Mutual threats and fears. In my previous articles in the Nikkei Asia, I wrote about a balance of terror. A balance of terror between Iran, Arab countries in the southern of Persian Gulf, and Israel. The balance of terror is this term of balance of terror roots in 1916 in the crisis of missiles crisis in Cuba in 1916 decades. At that time, the Western world and Soviet Union experienced a comprehensive threats and fears for a nuclear war. The balance of terror between Soviet Union and the United States led to ceasefire and the MOU between Soviet Union and the United States, Khrushchev and John F. Kennedy in Switzerland. In current situation, mutual fears and balance of terror is an energy construction, infrastructure, is power plants, is water and power plants and energy infrastructures. If the United States decided to damage and destroy Iranian energy infrastructure and power plant, Iran can damage and destroy infrastructure on the Kingdom of Saudi and Qatar and United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. And therefore, a kind of balance of terror and worries about this comprehensive damage prevent to a new comprehensive war in the region. On the other hand, Iran and the United States need to use financial, commercial, business benefits of the agreement. Unfortunately, the GCPOA didn't have these benefits for Iran and the United States. And as I said, and for example, the United States didn't have any investment in Iranian oil and gas sectors. On the other hand, Iran didn't have any advantage for exports and imports goods to the United States. Therefore, according to our last experiences in the GCPOA, it seems that two countries should reach an agreement that will be guaranteed to beneficial economic and commercial and business ties between Iran and the United States in the future. This help to maintain and keeping up the agreement between Iran and the United States.
Well, Dr. Gallagher, I do want to wrap up our conversation by asking you the last question. Again, when we look at the war between US and Iran at this moment, I do want to bring China into our conversation. And we do know that China today is one of the major buyers of the oil from Iran. And of course, this is really concerning to the West and also to many countries within the international community. So from your perspective, when we look at the economic competition between US and China, and also we're looking at this partnership between China and Iran, how do you think that China today should balance the role between US and Taiwan at this moment? Your final thoughts.
Okay. Yes. China is first, as you know, China is the first economic and trade partner of Iran, and however, Chinese foreign policy is very conservative, and China support Iran economically and for purchasing of the oil, importing of oil. But you know, in practice, in military, in defense, Iran didn't have the support by the Russia and China. Because Russia and China had not any commitments to defend and support in Iran during the war, and we have not any obligation and commitments for mutual defense in Iran and China. China 25-year strategic agreement, and also Iran and Russia 20-year strategic agreement. We have not any clause on board of the mutual defense among Iran and China and Russia. But on the other hand, I think that Russia and China looks and see Iran as a barrier and a wall against the United States and influence expanding of the U.S. Expansion in the Middle East. In the Middle East, and they will, and they want, China want to keep this ball in the region. In addition, Russia don't like to regime change in Iran. In the southern border of the Russia, in a new regime of the pro-Western regime came to the power in Iran, like before Islamic Revolution. Therefore, you see that in the UN Security Council, China and Russia support Iran, vote against returning of sanction against Iran, and politically, economically support Iran, and also China may learn closing of Strait of Hormuz for closing of Malacca, for example. In the maybe in the future, it is the learning in confronting with the United States, Iran, how Iran used this leverage, this geographical advantage and leverage against the United States, and maybe China used this geographical advantage for Taiwan, for Taiwan in confrontation with the United States. And on the other hand, please pay attention to this important point that China and Russia as two important pillars of the look to Est foreign policy in Iran policy. And in spite of the changing of the supreme leader in Iran, this policy will be continued. And as you know, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, Iranian statement chairman of the parliament and also chairman of the Iranian delegation for negotiation with the United States, has appointed by the Iranian special representative in China. And in next weeks, in the near future, Ghalibaf will be visit to Beijing, and we'll have visit the meeting with the Chinese leaderships. This appointment confirmed by a new supreme leader. By Iranian new supreme leader, it has a signal, important signals, because Ghalibaf is on hand is a chairman of Iranian delegation in the negotiation with the United States. On other hand, Ghalibaf is a chairman, is a Iran representative in China, in China's affairs. It's not due to kind of balances, and also Iran sent this message to China that in spite of negotiation with the United States, Iran don't forget China as a main partner, economic and trade partnership.
Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, such an honor to speak to Dr. Vali Khaliji. Again, Dr. Vali, it's a senior research fellow with the Institute for Iran Eurasia Studies in Tehran. And I strongly encourage everyone go online to check out this amazing article, Why the Last Iran Nuclear Deal Still Threatens the Next One. Well, Dr. Gallagher, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. We love to have you back on the show as we continue to pay closer attention to the global affairs. So thank you so much for your time.